The old market of Clearwater Junction was never quiet. Wooden stalls creaked under the weight of hanging cages. Vendors shouted over each other. Stray dogs wove through the legs of shoppers. And somewhere in the mix, a scream cut through the chaos. Not a human scream, a bird's, shrill, panicked, a rising, choking cry that made several shoppers flinch. The sound came again, higher, sharper, like something pleading for help. A few heads turned. Most didn't, because in this market, animals crying wasn't unusual. It was background noise. But this cry, this one had fear in it. A boy selling fruit pointed toward the sound. "There," he whispered, "the green devil again." In the corner of the bazaar, half covered by a dusty tarp, sat a rusted cage. Inside it, a beautiful emerald parrot clung to the bars. Its feathers were matted, one wing slightly dragging. Its beak opened and closed with sharp, painful breaths. The vendor, a thick-armed man with sunburned skin, slammed a stick against the cage. "Quiet," he barked. "Noisy monster." The parrot shrieked and stumbled backward. A woman gasped nearby. A teenager murmured, "It's just aggressive. It bites everyone." A man added, "I heard it attacked a vendor last week, nearly ripped his finger off." The murmurs grew. Wild, dangerous, untrainable. Don't go near it. No one noticed the bird's trembling chest. No one noticed the blood on one side of its beak. No one noticed the leg band, the kind used only for legally registered, advanced-trained birds. They only saw an aggressive parrot. A teenage boy, eager to impress his friends, walked forward with a mocking grin. "Oi, birdie, gonna bite me?" He poked the cage. Hard. The parrot shrieked again, flapping its injured wing wildly. The cage toppled sideways with a metallic crash. A group gasped. Dust rose. The parrot lay on its side, shaking violently. The vendor rushed forward and grabbed the cage upright. "Idiot boy," he yelled. "If it bites you, don't cry." The boy's friends laughed. Someone muttered, "It deserves a beating. Aggressive thing." Someone else said, "Just sell it before it hurts someone." The bird's breaths were fast, shallow, terrified, but people only saw its panic as aggression. That was when she appeared. A woman in a dark grey hoodie, small leather satchel across her shoulder, slow, calm steps, like she was moving through a world that no one else could feel. Her name wasn't spoken yet, but her presence alone made a few heads turn. She didn't rush. She didn't gasp. She didn't stare. She just listened. And then her eyes landed on the parrot. She froze, not in fear, in recognition. A tiny muscle in her jaw twitched. The vendor noticed her stare. "What? You want this crazy thing?" he scoffed. "Better keep distance. It's vicious." She didn't reply. She stepped closer. The crowd murmured. "Does she not hear us? She's going to get bitten. Someone stop her." But she kept walking, slow, measured, attentive. The parrot's eyes widened. Its trembling softened for a moment, as if sensing something unfamiliar, something safe. The woman crouched near the cage. Her voice was barely audible. "Hey, little one." The tone was soft, so soft it almost disappeared under the noise of the bazaar. The vendor smacked his gum loudly. "Lady, step back. You don't know this bird. It's a menace." She ignored him. Instead, she observed the parrot's breathing, the condition of its feathers, the injured wing, the leg band. Her eyes sharpened. "This bird isn't wild," she murmured. "What?" a man asked. She didn't answer him. She leaned closer, whispering again. "What did they do to you?" The parrot blinked, struggling to stay upright. The woman reached one hand slowly toward the cage bars. The crowd gasped. "Don't. It'll bite your finger clean off." "She's insane." But her hand didn't shake, not even slightly. The parrot didn't bite. It just shivered. A woman in the crowd burst out, "Ma'am, please step away. This bird is dangerous." "She's going to get attacked," someone added. Another yelled, "Vendor, get her away from that thing." The vendor shrugged. If she wants to lose a finger, let her. The boy who knocked over the cage smirked. Record it. This is going to be good. Phones came out. The woman's hand remained exactly where it was, still, calm, patient. Someone grabbed her shoulder. Lady, are you deaf? It's aggressive. She turned her head slowly. Her eyes were cold, not angry, not emotional, just cold. Fear doesn't make an animal aggressive, she said quietly. Mistreatment does. The crowd fell silent for half a second. Then someone scoffed. What do you know? You're just... A sudden clang echoed. The parrot crashed against the bars, spooked by a loud noise. Someone dropped fruit crates nearby. The bird shrieked so hard it sounded like its throat might tear. The woman's body shifted instantly. Her hand withdrew, her posture alert. The crowd flinched. There, a man shouted. See? Aggressive. But the woman whispered, No, that wasn't an attack. That was fear. Her voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with something deeper, something like anger, held tightly under control. The woman gently placed her fingers on the cage's bottom bar. She slid her hand inward just enough to tilt a feather. Then she saw it clearly. A metallic identification band. Her breath caught. Not just any band. One used by, not common pets, not market birds, specially trained tactical responders, the kind used in search and rescue teams, the kind that only a handful of people worldwide could command. And the crowd, they had no idea. The vendor shrugged. Found it in a crate shipment. Must have been some forest bird. She exhaled slowly. No, she whispered. This one belonged to someone. Her fingers traced the tiny engraved code. Recognition flickered in her eyes. And for the first time, fear crossed her face. Not fear of the parrot. Fear of what must have happened for a highly trained elite parrot to end up here. Injured, terrified, abused. She whispered as if speaking to someone from her past. This can't be real. The vendor got irritated. Look, lady, you buying it or not? I got customers. A man chimed in. If you don't step away, I'll move you myself. The boy laughed. Let's see her get bitten. Phones kept recording. People argued behind her. Voices clashed. Market chaos swirled. The woman's hand hovered just an inch from the parrot's beak. The bird trembled uncontrollably. The crowd thought it was preparing to attack. But she murmured, No, you're asking for help, aren't you? Her voice was steady, but her eyes held a storm. Memories, guilt, something unspoken. A secret. A past. She leaned in just a fraction more. And the parrot, instead of biting, let out a weak, broken chirp. A sound only trained handlers recognized. A distress code. Her breath hitched. She whispered, You know the signal. The crowd froze. They didn't understand, but she did, because no ordinary parrot used signals like that. Only elite-trained rescue parrots did, and only elite handlers knew how to answer. Her lips parted, but before she could give the command, the bizarre noise blurred. Crowd voices faded. Even the vendor's shouts dissolved into a distant hum. The woman leaned closer to the trembling parrot and whispered a single word. A code word. Soft, precise, barely audible. The effect was instant. The parrot froze. Every feather flattened. Every tremor softened. Its eyes widened with fragile recognition, like a soldier hearing a forgotten anthem. Then, weakly, it repeated, Sol, lace. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, What was that? Another murmured, Why did it stop shaking? The woman didn't look away from the parrot, because she knew what she had just triggered. This wasn't a pet. This wasn't an aggressive market bird. This was a unit-class avian responder, one of the rare parrots trained for emergency reconnaissance and disaster alert systems, and only elite handlers knew their trigger command. The vendor stepped forward. What did you do to it? She stood up slowly. Her voice was calm, but powerful enough to silence the entire market. I'm not just a passerby, she said. I'm a former handler from the Echo Division, Avian rescue ops. The crowd stared blankly. She continued, "These parrots aren't aggressive. They're trained responders. They help locate survivors in collapsed buildings, lost hikers, injured animals. They don't attack unless they're terrified." Someone whispered, "So, this one's a rescue bird?" She nodded, eyes heavy. "His band. It's registered under my old division. That means someone smuggled him from a rescue site." The vendor swallowed hard. "How was I supposed to know?" "You never checked," she replied sharply. "You just beat a traumatized responder." A murmur of guilt rippled through the crowd. A siren wailed from the bazaar road. A white vehicle marked with the insignia of the Wildlife Crisis Response Unit rolled in. Doors slammed. 2 officers stepped out, one carrying a thermal scanner, the other a medical carrier crate. The lead officer froze when he saw the woman. "Commander Rowan?" His voice cracked with disbelief. She shook her head. "Not a commander anymore, just someone passing through." He stepped closer. "We thought you disappeared after the Eastern landslide." Pain flickered in her eyes. "That's a story for another day. Right now, this bird needs stabilizing." The officers hurried over. One scanned the parrot's wing. "Fractured radius, dehydration, stress collapse." Another added, "We can save him if we act fast." The vendor tried to step forward, but the officer raised a hand. "Sir, this bird is government registered. Possession of trained responders is illegal, without clearance." His face paled. The woman knelt again. She whispered the command for calm. The parrot lifted its head, trembling, fighting to stay conscious. She slipped her hand into the cage, slow, gentle, deliberate, and the bird pressed its head into her palm. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. The same bird that attacked people, that people mocked, feared, avoided, was now leaning into her touch with childlike trust. The officer opened the carrier crate. "Ma'am, we need to transfer him." Rowan nodded. "I'll do it. He won't let anyone else." She lifted the parrot carefully, supporting the injured wing, murmuring soft-coded reassurances only elite birds knew. Each whisper lowered his heart rate. When she placed him into the padded crate, the parrot chirped one last time. "Sol, lace." Her breath broke, but she forced a small smile. "You're going home now." The crate door clicked shut. The vendor took a trembling step forward. I didn't know. I swear." Rowan faced him. "Not knowing is how abuse begins," she said softly. "You don't have to be cruel to be responsible." A woman in the crowd whispered, "We thought it was aggressive because it screamed." Rowan shook her head. "It screamed because it was hurting. Fear looks like aggression when no one listens." Silence spread. Guilty, uncomfortable, heavy. One by one, people lowered their phones. The teenage boy who knocked the cage over wiped his eyes. "I didn't mean to scare it," he whispered. Rowan's voice softened. "Then learn from this. Next time help instead of recording." He nodded, throat tight. As the officers prepared to leave, Rowan stepped back into the thick market air. The crowd parted. Their expressions changed. Not mocking, not dismissive, but humbled. One woman called out, "Why did you help? You don't even work in rescue anymore." Rowan paused. Her eyes drifted to the crate. "Once an animal asks for help," she said quietly, "you don't stop being the person who hears it." The officers closed the vehicle doors. The engine hummed. The parrot chirped softly from inside, weak but alive. And as the van pulled away, Rowan whispered into the dusty air, "Every voice matters, even the ones that don't sound human." Understood. I read your full script, carefully, every scene, every emotional beat, every suspense moment.